Hey, Bill. Just wondering. I know when I talked to you in Miami, when you at the first announcement, you knew Troy was going in at that time. Now Allen and Bill Nunn as well, all at the same time this weekend. Does that make it even more special for you to be able to share that with so many guys with Pittsburgh roots?
Hey, Dale. Yeah, it really does. I mean, I think the whole enshrinement weekend in talking about, going in there initially with two safeties, Troy Polamalu and Donnie Shell, me kind of being a defensive guy at heart, was pretty special. And then for Alan Faneca and Bill Nunn to come in, it's just, I think it's just going to be a special weekend. And the fact that the Cowboys are playing the Steelers on Thursday, and Jimmy also going in right there. So we'll be on the sidelines for that Thursday game. It'll be a great way to kick off, I think, this 2021 season. And certainly Saturday will be a special day, as will Sunday.
Thank you, Coach. Brooke Pryor.
Hey, Bill, kind of going off of that, specifically with Troy going in, you drafted him. How special is that? And how has your relationship with him kind of grown from the time that you drafted him to now going into the Hall together?
Yeah, Brooke, I mean, I think drafting him and kind of bringing him in that first year and, seeing where he was, and we threw a lot of things at him, just to watch him evolve as a player. It's just special. He's a special player. He's a very unique guy, a presence on the field, a guy you had a game plan for, a guy who at times you did not want to harness. And so I just remember the more you got to know Troy, there was always a reasoning behind the things that he did. And just a very unique football player with a special skill set, but just a good guy too. And, we've stayed in touch, as I have with a lot of the ex-players. And, those were special times. And certainly 2005 run that we had culminated in the Super Bowl championship over the Seattle Seahawks in Detroit. Again, going in with him and having Allen be there the next day, that's special.
Thank you, Brooke. We'll go ahead with Will Graves.
Bill, I'm curious, how does a 34-year-old guy apply for a job replacing a guy that he knows is going into the Hall of Fame?
Well, I didn't apply for it. I was actually recruited to take over that job. And, you follow a guy like Chuck Noll, I don't even think there's any pressure, because you're not going to even come close to doing what he did in terms of what his run that he had in the 70s and, what he did for the city of Pittsburgh and rejuvenating that whole city. And, so really for me, it was just coming in there to understand what the dynamics were in the building. A lot of things that we saw, you heard about, it was a mystique of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I just remember each year as I got in there, was just trying to understand what the culture was like, what the dynamics were like, and we try to work within that. And certainly I was blessed to have a guy like Dan Rooney and the whole Rooney family, to be honest with you. And to come there at 34 years old, and I said this before, I didn't know I left there. I was a better coach when I got there. I was a better father and a better husband because of the Rooney family and the culture that they created.
Thank you, Will. Joe Rudder.
Yeah, Bill, as replacing Chuck, as time went on, what kind of stamp did you want to put on that? What did you want to add to the legacy of the Steelers?
I just think the consistency. I mean, I think when you looked at growing up there 4 miles from Three River Stadium and now Heinz Field, I came back there. I mean, I knew what the culture of the fans were, the fan base was. I understood that because I grew up there. I watched it happen. And so to me, it was just about putting out a product each and every year that was consistent. It reflected the city of Pittsburgh. We wanted to be tough. We weren't going to beat ourselves. We wanted to be kind of the guy we're going to come in and do that with our lunchbox and just do our job. And at the same time, know that we represent a city and there was an obligation that was a platform that we accepted. And so, it wasn't so much about building on anything. It was, to me, is about what we represented. And we represented a family that had the perfect culture, and you had the perfect values, core values. And so our football team also represented that. Like I said, we were going to be tough. We're not going to beat ourselves. We're going to come to work and just with our lunch pail every day and find a way to get it done.
Thank you, Joe. Albie?
Hello, thank you. Hi, Bill. How you doing?
Hey, Albie. Good, buddy.
Hey, we've talked several times through the process, including your visit to the Hall of Fame, and I know you've had a lot of time to absorb what's going on. Now that we're as close as the calendar is to the actual induction, what are you feeling? Are you feeling some adrenaline? like there's a big game coming up? What's going through your mind right now with the induction so close?
Well, a lot of logistics, I can tell you that right now, with family, friends, trying to get players all together, coaches that you've had with. You just realize when you go through this, Albie, it's like all the people that were a part of the process that allowed you to have that success. And for me to be able to be enshrined, it was more of the cultivation of a lot of work from a lot of people and support staff and players and coaches, family and friends that were there along the way. So I think as we get closer and all these things start to fall in place, I really just want to enjoy it. I really just want to soak it up, have a chance to spend time with some of the guys I've not seen, players, some of the coaches I've not seen. You know, I've been involved on the outside looking in with the platform I have at CBS, which I'm so blessed to have. My CBS family will be there as well. So it's just a lot of people coming together. And I really do just want to enjoy the time when I get there on Thursday till the time that we leave, you know, after Alan gets inducted on Sunday. That it's going to be special. It's going to be a special weekend, and I want to just take the whole thing in.
Thank you.
Thanks, Albie. Raphael Haynes.
Hey, Coach, congrats on getting or your future induction in the Hall of Fame. And wanted to tell you, before I came, a journalist, of course, teenager, big fan, favorite coach of all time. Just wanted to let you know that.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot.
Talking to you. So
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, coming in '92, as we mentioned, you took over for good coach, the man, and
Yeah.
you brought this new style of coaching, you know, this fire, real close to the players, and then young. Do you ever think about how much you inspired other young coaches to get involved and actually other teams to start looking for younger coaches?
You know, it's interesting. I think, you know, I was very blessed because I had one mentor from a coaching perspective, and that was Marty Schottenheimer. You know, he actually talked me out of playing, and I just went right from playing in 1984. I was a special teams captain of the Philadelphia Eagles. I came back to the Cleveland Browns, and I became a special teams coach. And I was coaching guys that I played with in the 3 previous years, or 2 years before that. And so I just feel like it was a very natural progression for me. And I played the game with a certain passion, of a certain attitude, so to speak. And I loved it. And I loved to compete. And I don't think I really even changed as a person. So I wore my emotions on my sleeve. That's how I played the game of football. I love strategizing. I love the elements and the angles and all the different idiosyncrasies that really can make a good player great. And I try to share some of those things, you know, because I wasn't a great player. I just was very average skill set, but I knew how to do all the little things to get by. And so that was my idea. I was like a teacher. I always liked teaching. And teaching is finding ways to connect with your students, and those were the players. Those were the coaches. And so I embraced it all. And again, as you saw, I wore my emotions on my sleeve. I was who I was. I tried to hold people accountable, but I had a great passion for the game, and I think that showed above it all.
Thank you. Teresa?
Hey, Bill. Hope you're doing well today.
Hi, Teresa.
How are you? I wanted to ask you about, you know, you just spoke about your relationship with the Rooneys and how that made you not just a better coach, but better father, better husband, better person. In what ways did that relationship, starting with Dan Rooney and then later Art Rooney, do that? What were the aspects?
You know, Teresa, that's a great question, because, you know, you go in there, and I just even remember from the time that I went through the interview process with Dan Rooney, he probably called me while I was in Kansas City 5 or 6 times. And the conversations didn't last long. They may last for 10, 15 minutes, but really 10 of those 15 minutes was about family. And he just asked me about, you know, the more you talk to someone, the more you get a feel for someone. How are the kids doing? How are your parents doing? How about your brothers? How's wife? How's Kay doing? And so those are the things that, you know, we go in, and through the course of my 15 years, Dan would walk down, Art would walk down, and, you know, with the course of a week, once or twice a week, walk into the office. And it wasn't like, okay, how's practice going? What do you think our chances are this week? It was like, how are you doing? How's the family doing? Let's talk about the state of the NFL. What can we do to make it better? So he always had a bigger picture in mind than just the game we were playing that week. Yes, it was important. Our record was important. Yes, we had to answer some of the tough questions that he may ask at times. But the overall theme of what it was about was we are in this thing, we're a family that's together. And, you can have family squabbles, you have family differences. And so I just got a sense, when you talk about the mystique of the Pittsburgh Steelers, is when you walk through that door, you're part of something that's bigger than you are. And that's the one thing every time I walk through that door, whether it's on the South Side, whether it was at Three River Stadium, it was bigger than what I was. And part of that bigger picture was a family core culture that existed, and it started at the top.
Thank you, Teresa. Brian DeArdo.
Hey, Coach, congratulations. In your book, you do talk a lot about your relationship with Marty. I think when he offered you the coaching thing, I think he said you're going to work a lot more and make a lot less, and you went for it, and you began your career. I thought that was crazy, and it worked out. But if you could just maybe talk about maybe like the main thing that you learned from playing and then being Marty's assistant, that when you got the job with the Steelers, maybe one thing that you really took with you that you did learn from him that helped you during your career.
Great question. And, what's interesting is I came into the NFL in '79 with Dick Vermeil in his training camp, and I got cut. And I didn't make the final cut. So I had gotten time to go back down to NC State. I was a semester away from graduating. And I really got my first time of coaching was with Bill Ryan on his staff as a grad assistant. And I think, wow, this is pretty cool. I'm coaching Robert Abraham, Dan Lutz, and these were two kids that played behind me the previous year that now I was coaching them. I came back in 1980. I'm going to try one more time. I signed with the Cleveland Browns in January. $1,000 sign-on bonus, $645 when I take out the taxes to be exact. So I go there, and so so I have a chance to go to the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to try one more time. Well, they had just brought in a new defensive coordinator named Marty Schottenheimer, who was introducing the 34 defense. And so I thought, wow, I may have a chance here. And if I can show them that I'm smart enough that I can pick things and grasp things up and then maybe play a couple different positions, I could have a role in that team. And I did. And that's probably basically how I got the role. I was a pretty good special teams player. I got it through that. I was a backup linebacker who could play multiple positions. But the one thing I learned from Marty from playing for him and then subsequently coaching with him, for him, is about preparation. I mean, everything was about preparation, leaving no stone unturned and making sure maybe sometimes that the practices were harder than the games. Putting yourselves in difficult situations just to see how your team will respond. So I learned so much about strategizing through Marty because it was all about preparation for him. It was making sure that we had something that was sound, that was catered to that team that we were playing. And I learned a lot of these things with him and just the organization of practice and watching him organize a practice, watching him organize a training camp, the progression of installation that you go through. And so, to this day, everything I did for my 15 years in Pittsburgh, well, Marty was tinkering with things. We would talk 7 or 8 years in, and he goes, wow, you're doing that? I go, Coach, I got it from you. So he said, so he would tinker and go around and it'd come full cycle back. I never tinkered. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So I learned a lot from Marty Schottenheimer. He's a special man, and he'll be a guy I talk a lot about that Saturday night. Him and Dan Rooney both, and so they won't be there in person, but they will be there in spirit.
Thank you, Brian. L. Kraft.
Hi, Bill.
Hi.
We're kind of on the edge of COVID-19 now. So we're all excited to get back and fill those stadiums. So what do you think the NFL could do to encourage the fans to get vaccinated? Because, this variant that's out there is kind of scaring everybody. So.
Yeah, and I just think the more, I'm sure there'll be plenty of programs, and again, it's all an individual choice. I understand that, but I just think with all the knowledge that we have right now, not to get vaccinated is the unknown that you don't have. I think the fact of getting vaccinated, I get the flu shot every year, so hopefully we can keep talking about it the same way. Is we have science. Listen to science. That's the best defense you have. We talk about defense in the game of football. We talk about taking metrics and talk about analytics. Well, science has proven that what they have right now, that getting vaccinated will eliminate a large chance of you having a serious illness or even spreading something. So I hope the message will never get lost. I think repeated messaging is big. And hopefully the NFL with a platform and having people come into the stadiums and realizing what we have all missed for a year energy, that build up to one game a week, which is the NFL's got the greatest platform, I think, in professional sports, because there's an actual build up. There's matchups we're going to talk about, and then it unfolds in that stadium on game day. And there's nothing like being in the stadium on game day. So hopefully we'll continue to talk about the vaccinations, and we'll come up with, if we need to get boosters for some of these variants, so be it. And I'm all for it. And hopefully everyone else will speak out when we have the platform to do so as well.
Thank you.
Thanks. Mark Bona?
Hi.
You're good, Mark.
Okay. Hey, Coach. Mark Bona, Cleveland.com, and the Plain Dealer. You touched on Marty Schottenheimer and your time in Cleveland. I'd like to pick your brain on any memorable moments you had leading the Steelers in many, many battles with the Browns over the years. Wins, losses, or any memorable moments that stand out for you with the fans.
Oh, I think one of the things I always remember my first game being back up there, I was standing down in the dog pound, and I made sure I stood right. I made sure the net was right there, but I was off to the side, because I shrugged. But all I could hear in the background, which I love the Cleveland fans, is, "Cowher, we never liked you as a player. We never liked you as a coach, and we don't like you now as head coach of the Steelers." And so, I love you guys too. That's only the dog pound. And so I have so many great memories of Cleveland. To be honest with you, my two oldest girls were born there. I just remember the drive. I remember the fumble, the 2 AFC championship game losses to the Denver Broncos, and then coming back there, when they left. I mean, just opening up that stadium. And I know it was a big win that we had, but just to go back into that stadium again, just Cleveland without football just wasn't right. And it just, I just remember the history, the tradition with Jim Brown, and everything goes all the way back. So I think having the Cleveland Browns back in the NFL and now having them back in the playoffs is just great for the game. And like I said, I have nothing but fond memories. I first played there, I first coached there. And then to come back and, to coaching, it was funny because Bill Belichick and I were friends. We shared a lot of game plans together. Almost, as you guys were talking about in the book, I had a chance to go with Bill Parcells, but I decided, and Bill, I was offered a job to go there back in 1989. And I went with Marty to Kansas City, and Bill Belichick and I went from friends to adversaries when I went to Pittsburgh in 92 and he was coaching the Browns in 91. So that friendship went right out the window for a while. We competed against each other. Friends to this day, but there was a lot of great memories, and a lot of great matchups we had, the Steelers and the Browns.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Mark. Next up, Brian Batko.
Hey, Bill, you mentioned earlier that you'll be right there kind of on the sideline for that Steelers-Cowboys preseason game. Are you going to lobby Mike to let you maybe run in a play or call a coverage or anything like that for old time's sake? And in all seriousness, do you have a favorite decision or play call that sticks out to you from your 15 years, and a least favorite that still keeps you up at night?
Well, yeah, I got a least favorite. How about the 1994 championship game, and we're 3 yards away, and it was an incomplete pass against the San Diego Chargers. Now, if I would like to call another play. That one didn't work. I wish I had a reboot on that one. As I sit back and I'll be on the sideline for the game, and it'll be great. It's more about the pageantry to me of the weekend. It kicks off the game. I'm sure Jimmy will be on his sideline. I'll be on my sideline. I'll let Jimmy call a play. Let me call one blitz. I just want one blitz. So I'll grab Dick LeBeau with me because he'll probably be there too. So Dick and I'll be on the sideline, and we'll call one blitz in a game. We'll see if we can get Mike to run one. So it will be fun. And as far as the other calls, I think the one thing I've always tried to do is allow our coordinators. And I was so blessed to have so many great coaches with me along the way. And so, a game is filled with a lot of different plays, maybe 150, 160 plays. Sometimes it comes down to the last play, as it did with the San Diego Chargers in 94, as it did in 95 with a Hail Mary from Jim Harbaugh that Randy Fuller knocked down from Aaron Bailey. So those are two plays, ironically, that were in the same end zone, both incomplete. One was good because we were on defense. Another one was bad because we were on offense. So I think it's probably 2 plays right there. I can just think about it. It comes off the memory of me that I think, again, the last play of the game.
Thanks, Brian. We have time for a few more questions. Paul Gant.
Bill, congrats on making the Hall of Fame, sir.
Thanks, Paul.
I got a question for you. Do you ever get the itch to return to the sidelines? And if you have, how close were you to returning to the sideline?
Well, I missed that part of it. I always miss strategizing. I miss the camaraderie that you have with the players, coaches. I love the build up to a game. I love the instantaneous result that you get. It's like, okay, you win your loss, and then you have to move on to the next game. So the idea of processing 17 weeks or 17 games and trying to build and crescend that you're playing your best football and realizing what's your identity. Every year it's something different, whether it's because of injuries, whether it's because of free agent losses, whether it's because of just new systems coming in. I love that element of it. And so I miss the game on Sundays. I miss the practice. I don't miss the lifestyle. I think that's the one thing is I write about in my book. One of the reasons I stepped down is at the time, my wife was not in a great place, and I put family ahead of football, and I always would do that. I'm blessed now to have this great platform that I have at CBS. I really enjoy the guys I work with. I love talking about the game every Sunday. But I also love when the season's over that I have now some time to do other things I could not do when you're coaching, because it is a pretty much a full-time job outside maybe 3 or 4 weeks that you get off in the summer. So I have so much more balance in my life than I ever had, to be honest with you, Mark. And I said, so I don't think I'm ever going to have that come close to going back. I miss the game. I love talking about the game. I love sharing my wisdom with other coaches for going through interview processes sometimes in the off season. And, because I just think that's what life is about. It's sharing whatever wisdom that you have. And if I can do that, I'm a big fan of the NFL, not a particular team. I'm a fan of the NFL and young coaches that might want to come along. And if there's any questions they have, I'm always there to listen and share with them my viewpoints on certain items. So, but I never really came that close to going back.
Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark Kabley.
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Hey, Mark.
Hey, I got a question about Troy. I guess, covering him his entire year, I found it fascinating the non-football conversations you could have with him. Are there any examples of interactions that you had with him over the years that maybe you enjoyed that didn't necessarily involve football?
Well, yeah, Troy is one of those guys that he used to go to the Mass on Saturday night. And I always see him walking out of Mass on Saturday night. Mr. Rooney always had Mass in there. And on Sunday morning, we had our worship service. And so when he first got there as a rookie, I saw him come out of Mass. Then I always see him, he was always the first one in there at worship in the morning. So I'm thinking, what's your denomination? Like so I walked up to him and I said, Troy, I said, see, you go to the Catholic Mass and you're here this morning for worship. I said, where do you lie? He goes, oh, Coach, he goes, I like all religion. And he goes, I like it all. I go, okay. And so there were times, and I shared this story, we were playing the San Diego Chargers. We ran a blitz zone, and LaDainian Thompson ran a swing pass, and they threw it to him 75 yards for a touchdown. James Ferrier, they took the tight end, and Troy took the tight end. They did not pass it off as they were supposed to. And so once we got the extra point was kicked, I got him back in. We're going to get the return. The defense had come off. I always give him a couple minutes. So I started walking over and said, Troy. And Chris goes, Coach, can't talk to Troy now. I go, what do you mean? He goes, he's praying. I go, okay. I said, I'll wait. He goes, it's going to be a while. I go, well, I got to talk to him about that last defense. I go, it's real quick. He goes, sorry, Coach, I'll come and get you when he's done. I go, okay, well, can you come and get me pretty quickly? So in case we have to go back out, we don't screw up another defense. I got it. Well, Troy will tell you the story later on. He had his head down. He went over to Chris and he said, did he leave yet? Did he leave? And Chris goes, yeah, he's gone. So he did not want to talk about this the thing. And he always used that he was always praying. And I said, okay, fine. Okay, so I love Troy Polamalu because a lot of my whole thing was I wasn't going to yell at him. If Troy screwed something up, I want to make sure we can correct it because it's something maybe we did wrong as coaches. So we just had to talk through it because Troy, when he's on the field, you did not want to harness him. You let him play. And if he got uncomfortable, then that made me uncomfortable. So we gave him a lot of leeway. And I'll tell you what, that's why he's going to the Hall of Fame because he's a very special player, a very special, special person.
Thanks, Mark. One last question, Nate Davis.
Hey, Coach, congratulations. And I know this is mostly, of course, you're going in for your accomplishments on the sideline, but you touched on your years now as an analyst. Could you just kind of reflect on what Ben Roethlisberger meant to you? Obviously, he coincided with you getting your ring, and now as he's winding it down, we're all maybe prevailing sense of doom and gloom there in Pittsburgh this year. But just kind of your thoughts on Ben and maybe where this is all going.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when Ben came in there, we picked him with the 12th pick. You know, my idea with Ben was, okay, you know, Philip Rivers probably could start from day one. Eli Manning, day one. They came from big time programs, their pedigrees. Ben, okay, came from the MAC, which you watched him play, but I figured this is a great situation. We got Tommy Maddox to start. We can bridge the gap here. And then we also have Charlie Batch to back up, so he could be a third quarterback. And as it unfolds, Charlie Batch gets hurt in the third preseason game. Won't be ready till the fourth game of the season. Okay, that's fine. We'll have a little package for him, you know, do some of the 1 minute stuff, and a little package for Ben until Charlie gets back and Tommy will be the starter. Tommy goes down in week 2. And all of a sudden, ahead of Eli, ahead of Philip Rivers, the guy who was supposed to, I thought, sit for a while was now starting. And I guess he proceeded to win his first 15 games. And we gave to him, pared it back. And the more you just want to give him and make sure that he was able to get this in and out of others, manage the game. He went from managing the game to winning games. And I was just amazed at not just his athleticism and how his size, but his feel for the game. He could see the field better than anybody. He got comfortable outside the pocket. He was athletic. He could see the field, not afraid to make throws. It was never too big for him. And I think what you've seen him do through a period of time and consistently year in, year out, he is a great competitor. I mean, I'm sure he's just thriving right now on the fact that everyone thinks that he's done. The Steelers are done. I used to always say to people, I said, the greatest thing in sports is to do something nobody thinks you can do. It's one of the greatest accomplishments. And I think right now, Ben is just thriving on that. He can't wait to get out there, probably chopping at the bit to prove. I think he's, I would be very surprised if he didn't have a great year this year. And so, like I said, it's a tough division. He's a Hall of Fame player, first ballot, no question about it. He's won 2 Super Bowls and been to 3. But yet he continues to play the game with a great passion. He's a great competitor. And I think you'll see that this year.
Thanks, Coach. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach Cowher. We so appreciate your time. Everyone, this is going to conclude our media availability with Coach Cowher. This recording will be placed on the Hall's media site later today or first thing tomorrow. Thank you all.
Great. See you guys.